From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray, and I hope that you're hungry.
I am, Brand.
For some quizzing, because this week's episode is all about the history of food.
Yes, Chef. Coming up, we'll explore the timeline of some famous food brands and see if you can figure out which bizarre food facts are true or false. And we'll also speak with a food historian about the stories behind some of our favorite snacks.
I can't wait for this episode. If you'd like to join us for these games, just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or if you'd rather, you can send us an email, whowhatwhen at scpublicradio.org. We'll get that email, and you'll get a chance to earn the title of Who What When Champion of the Week and our very special prize. You know it, you love it. It's perfect for snackies. It's the Who What When Fanny Pack.
Sure is, Brandon. Before we dig into our quizzes, I'd love to share a little food history with you to really whet your appetite.
Oh, boy, Dan, I was hoping that you would. Can I ask you, though, is this a sweet story or a savory story?
Savory all the way, baby.
All right.
Get ready for the twisted tale behind one of the most legendary snacks of all time. That's right, the pretzel.
All right. Can this story be anywhere as knotted as an actual pretzel, Dan?
I'm loving the food puns, Brand, but the answer, yes,
Okay.
because pretzels have been around for so long. There's some debate about where and when they were first invented.
I mean, I kind of assumed Germany. It seems like a German name, pretzel.
Well, yes and no, Brand. The word pretzel does come from the German word Brezel, which
Right.
I know you know.
Well, I took German
And
in
for
high school.
most of modern history, the pretzel has been associated with Germany. But it may actually date all the way back to 610 AD and an
Wow.
Italian monk whose students just wouldn't pay attention. To motivate them, this crafty monk created tasty treats in the shape of hands praying, offering the snacks as little rewards for his students who completed their prayers.
Amen.
And what's the word for little rewards in Italian? Bretiola.
Wow. So you could say, Dan, that monk cooked.
Yeah, he did. More like baked anyway.
well.
But Germany and France also lay claim to the pretzel, and it's possible that this is an example of some parallel thinking happening in a few different places at once. What we know for sure is that the pretzel existed by the 12th century because one appears in an illustration from that period.
Do those other countries have their own pretzel lore, Dan, like the Italian monk and his little rewards?
Well, if we look at 17th century Switzerland, it's believed that the pretzel was used in wedding ceremonies.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Is that where tying the knot comes from?
No.
Okay.
Good question, Brand. Some historians do speculate that the Swiss practice of tying the knot may be connected, but it's more likely that the term comes from a Celtic tradition
All right.
that called for the betrothed couple's hands to literally be tied together before their wedding day.
I'd be lying if I said that this wasn't a little disappointing, Dan. I was hoping that was a PR stunt from Big Pretzel, but it seems like pretzels are doing pretty well for themselves regardless, tying the knot or otherwise.
Yeah, don't cry for Big Pretzel, Brand. The pretzel has had a good run, and it doesn't seem that it's going anywhere anytime soon. In 2025, the global pretzel market was valued at $8.2 billion.
Did you say billion?
I did. And,
Wow.
despite its European roots, the pretzel is now just as much an American snack as baseball and apple pie. In the 18th century, German immigrants brought the snack with them to southeast Pennsylvania. One city, Reading, PA, has since claimed the title of the pretzel capital of the world, due to its booming pretzel industry. For a time, Reading's key to the city actually had a handle shaped like a pretzel. Today, Reading no longer produces as many pretzels as it did during the city's heyday, but the state of Pennsylvania still produces 80% of the United States pretzels.
Yeah, take that, Hershey. Pretzels are the real pride of Pennsylvania.
Wow. Chocolate catching strays.
Sorry,
for no
I didn't
reason.
mean it. Listen, my appetite has been whetted. I'll be dreaming about a nice warm pretzel. You know I love a pretzel and cheese, Dano. You know I love it. That's what I'm going to be thinking about the entire episode.
Me too, but at least we have some contestants on the line who are ready to play some quizzes with us.
We do indeed, Dan. Contestant number one. What's your name and where are you from?
Hey guys, this is Chris in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Chris from Charlotte.
Yes, there's
North
some good
Carolina.
eats in Charlotte.
There are, yeah.
Chris, if you had to pick, what's your favorite food?
Tacos.
Ooh,
That's a good choice.
How about
It's a
that?
good
I like
choice.
that.
Just any run-of-the-mill taco, Chris?
I'm a seafood taco type of guy. And
That's what I'm
talking about.
oddly, here in Charlotte, there's a place that does salmon tacos, and they're amazing.
Gonna need the name of that place right now, Chris.
It's called Cabo Fish Taco.
I've been. Those tacos are amazing.
Okay.
They are
Look
good.
at you
Yeah.
guys.
I've been.
Best
That's right.
buddies. You
Best
and
buds
Chris
with
gonna go
Chris.
meet up at Cabo.
Yeah, Cabo Fish Tacos, good
Fantastic.
stuff. I've been before.
Very good.
Great food. Chris, you should win. And no offense.
Whoa. Well, let's hear who our second caller
Maybe
is.
Ann has a great recommendation for me too. Oh, Ann, I don't.
We don't know
Ann.
her name.
We don't know her. Maybe our second caller. So stupid. I'm sorry, guys. We'll be better in the future. Chris, good luck today on Who, What, When, all about food. Sounds like you're ready to roll. Caller number 2. What's your name? Where are you from?
Anne from Columbia, South Carolina.
Ann
Oh, a
from
local.
Columbia, South Carolina.
Ann, you got a favorite food?
I would say probably steak or pizza.
Steak or
Steak
pizza.
or pizza.
Great options.
Or both ends. You ever combine those
I've had a
suckers?
Philly steak pizza before.
Yeah.
I don't think I have, but I think it would be good.
Dare to dream, and
Where are you getting pizza from in Columbia, Ann?
I'm not a big fan of anywhere in Columbia.
That's the right answer.
If I were to choose, I guess I go to Village Idiot the most.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Fair.
Yeah,
It's
that's
close. It's there. It's
Yeah,
a
it's there.
tradition
It
for
works.
college students. I did it when
Yeah,
I was at Carolina.
Exactly. It's pretty good. It's consistent.
Chris from North Carolina and Ann from South Carolina, thank you for joining us today. We'll be starting out with a little game we're calling Snack to the Future.
Chris and Ann, this first round is about years when famous foods were invented or introduced. For each year, we'll give you a few notable moments from world history, along with 3 possible foods or brands that made their first appearance in that year. Give us the right one, you're going to get yourself a point.
Chris, the first question in Snack to the Future goes to you. In 1869, the periodic table of elements was presented, the Suez Canal was opened, the American Museum of Natural History was founded, and this company started in Camden long before Andy Warhol's pop art prints appeared on their cans. Is that A, Campbell's, B, Hormel, or C, Bush's?
I am a big Hormel fan. However, I know that that's Campbell's soup.
He knows it's Campbell's soup, and he is correct.
It's always good to get that first one out of the way.
First one out of the way. It's
off
like,
to a
now it's
good
like riding a
start.
bike.
That's
You're good to
right.
go.
That's right.
All right, Ann, your first question here on Snack to the Future. In 1876, Bell patented the telephone. Custer was defeated at Little Bighorn. Colorado became a state. And this brand, founded in 1869, introduced its iconic sweet and tangy condiment, changing the French fry game forever. A, Hunt's. B, Heinz. C, A1.
I'm going to say B.
I'm going to say B, and she is correct.
She say it and she get it.
It is Heinz.
Can I ask you this? You might not know this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Heinz was founded in 69. They put out the ketchup in 76. What were they doing in those 7 years?
I think they were up to, sauce can. Have you run a Heinz 57?
Yeah, dialing it up.
They have other sauces.
I didn't know if it took them a little while to get to what they landed on. Or
It sucks that Heinz is the only ketchup. Like, I feel like we should have some ketchup competition. There should be a second good one. There just isn't.
Okay.
All right. It's tied up. Chris, back to you. Here's your next question here on Snack to the Future. In 1912, the RMS Titanic sunk. Woodrow Wilson was elected president. The Girl Scouts of America was founded. And Nabisco released what they've since rebranded as America's favorite cookie. Is that A, Chips Ahoy, B, Oreo, or C, Famous Amos?
I think, and I always get weird looks when I say this because I'm not an Oreo fan.
I want to tell him he's incorrect just because he's not an Oreo fan, but he is correct. It is Oreos.
What do you, what,
Chris,
can I ask
why
you
are
this?
you not American?
What do you even mean when you say you're not an Oreo fan?
Well, first of all, I'm not a huge cookie guy.
Fair,
which is
fair.
So weird. And I'm aware that that's not normal, but I'm not a big chocolate person either. All of this sounds weird when I say it out loud.
Is it too late to get a
different
new
color?
person? No,
So-
I'm kidding, Chris. You're doing
I will
great.
say this, Chris. When I was, we were talking about Oreos yesterday, and I said, Chris, I am not a big store-bought cookie guy. Like a homemade cookie, yeah, I'm in, but like most store-bought cookies, but the Oreo is the exception for me.
Give me a homemade white chocolate and macadamia
Let's go.
nut. That's my
Let's
favorite
go.
right there.
All right, Chris. He's back.
right.
I'm back on board
Okay.
with Chris.
All right.
All right, and a chance to even this thing back up. Here's your next question on Snack to the Future. In 1923, the first scientifically recognized dinosaur eggs were discovered.
Oh, wow.
The Hollywood sign premiered.
We lost President Warren G. Harding.
Rest in peace, obviously.
And this Mars candy bar premiered, inspired by the flavor of a diner malt and originally sold as a Mars bar in the UK. Is that A, the Snickers, B, the Milky Way, or C, the Twix bar?
I'm going to say B, the Milky Way.
She's going to say B, Milky Way, and she is correct.
Listen, Anne came to play.
She came to play.
I did.
You know what? I've never thought about the fact that Milky Way, Mars bar, but both outer spaces.
Planet,
so it makes
galaxy,
sense. Why'd they have
outer
to
space.
change the name? Why'd they have to change the name over in the UK?
It was actually different. The Mars bar in the UK only had caramel, I believe, and here they added the nougat.
Oh, and that's where you get the Milky Way.
That's right. Milky Way's nougat.
Milky Way.
And we know that.
Nougat.
Chris, let's see if we can keep the good times rolling here on Snack to the Future. Your next question about foods from certain years. In 1937, America was entrenched in a Great Depression. Signs of World War were emerging. The Hindenburg exploded, and Kraft developed this inexpensive boxed meal to help families struggling financially, long before it became a staple of childhood. Is that A, hamburger helper, B, lean cuisine, or C, mac and cheese?
Again, going back to the cookie thing, I'm a big homemade mac and cheese guy. I'm not a big box mac and cheese guy, but I think it's got to be mac and cheese.
He thinks it's got to be mac and cheese, and Chris he's locked in.
Yeah.
He's correct. He also is right about this. Like, I'm very picky about my mac and cheese. I, by and large, don't want it.
I don't think that. Well, I don't
Yeah.
think that there's anybody who, in their heart of hearts, believes that the box mac and cheese is superior.
No. I think a lot of people prefer
Really?
it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
any adult.
No, my wife, before she found out she had a dairy allergy, if she was going to eat mac and cheese, she preferred the box. True story.
I like a box mac and cheese.
Yep. I don't.
Okay.
All right, and back to you. Snack to the Future, your next question. Here we go. In 1941, FDR made history by starting his third term as U.S. president. The U.S. entered World War II. The USO was established for the troops, and this food was specifically created for the U.S. military, designed so that soldiers could carry candy in their rations without it melting. Is that A, M&M's, B, Smarties, or C, Sixlets?
I'm going to say C.
She's going to say C, Sixlets. It does sound old. That is incorrect.
Oh no.
The M&Ms were created as a means for chocolate provisions for our troops overseas.
How about
True story.
that?
That was a tough one.
Has the recipe changed? I feel like they're more melty now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I will
used
say
to
that
be.
I can't imagine a tin of M&Ms on the beach of France not melting.
Yeah, I just.
But that's what the claim was.
I think.
Not in your hand. That was the whole thing.
But
Was
that's
melts
what
in your
I'm
mouth, not in your hand.
saying. I think something's changed.
You think we're getting light on the not melty?
Yes. Bring
Okay.
them in. Bring in the M&Ms.
Bring in Dr.
I'm gonna show
All right,
you this.
Chris, you have a chance to take a commanding lead here in your last question of the round here on Snack to the Future. Here it goes. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was signed into law. The 24th Amendment was ratified. The Gulf of Tonkin incident escalated the war in Vietnam. And Kellogg met the rise of the electric toaster. With this pastry, you can still eat via the toaster or cold or after a quick 3-second microwave stint. Is that A, the toaster strudel, B, the pastry puff, or C, the Pop-Tart?
I'm going to see if you guys are with me on this one too. It's the Pop-Tart, and you put butter on it.
I will say this. I left Pop-Tarts in my rearview mirror about 15 years ago, but I know about this. I've seen this on a reel.
I have not heard of
And
this.
you can really make a Pop-Tart sing with some butter. So
I
that's
am
what
going to
heard.
try this because I have not left them in my rearview mirror. I love a Pop-Tart. What if I'm going to do this? Is there a flavor of Pop-Tart that the butter
Brown
works
sugar
better
cinnamon,
with?
Gotta be, right?
Not for me. I mean, honestly, butter is good on everything. I'd probably eat my shoe if I had butter on it. So,
Fair.
you choose.
Yeah,
Okay, all
I
right,
love
I'll
it.
choose.
Barely
I'll
fruit
try it,
anyway.
folks.
And back to you. Need this one.
need
Snack
it.
to the Future. Talking food, talking years. Here we go. 1965, the Soviets completed the first ever spacewalk. Malcolm X was assassinated. The Sound of Music dominated the box office. And Donald Gurkey at Campbell's launched this can of Italian goodness. Is that A, beefaroni, B, SpaghettiOs, or C, mini ravioli?
I'm gonna say B.
She's going to
SpaghettiOs.
say B, SpaghettiOs, and she is correct.
Something to keep an eye on here is Anne has got 3 right. All 3 of those were
B.
B's.
That's correct.
Is it
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
I don't know, and we won't find out because next is true or false. But it is interesting. I can get down with spaghetti.
I'm glad you can.
Yeah.
Just like Mama used to make in the old country.
That's
the
exactly
SpaghettiOs.
right.
All right.
You know, if I'm going to spaghetti-o, though, I'm going to go all the way.
What is that? I don't get it. Was it? Can you explain it to me?
Yeah, I was gonna. The SpaghettiOs, am I making this up? Did they used to do different letters, or am I thinking of the soup?
You're thinking of alphabets.
So I was gonna say the thing about the letters, but then I realized I'm thinking about soup. So the way I covered is it's by saying if I'm gonna go SpaghettiOs, I'm gonna go all the way.
Spaghetti.
And I apologize.
Spaghetti goes all the way.
I apologize, everyone. You're listening to Who, What, When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my co-host, Daniel Thompson. And this week, we are chowing down on the history of food.
That's right, Bran. Our contestants Chris and Ann are both off to a great start, and I think this one might be a nail-biter, folks. We'll see if they keep eating up these questions in our next round about the bizarre backstories of some of our favorite foods.
That's coming up right after this break here on Who, What, When.
Welcome back to Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy and co-host Brandon Gray, and this week our topic is the history of food.
And before we serve up our next quiz, a reminder that you can be a contestant on a future episode of Who, What, When. Just call or text us, 803-470-6347. I'll give it to you one more time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
803-470-6347. Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Or you can send us an email if you want to, whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
Now, Brandon, we've got 2 contestants today who are both hungry for a win. I hear you. Chris from North Carolina and Ann from South Carolina. Chris just barely pulled ahead in our last round, but Ann's definitely got a chance to catch up in our next game. True or false?
Now, in this game, we'll tell you a bizarre food backstory, and you'll have to determine whether the tale is true, right, or false. Nothing fancy there, just false. Get it right, you'll win a point.
Chris will start us off this round. Chris, here's your first question in true or false.
On April Fool's Day in 1996, Taco Bell took out full-page ads in national newspapers announcing they had actually bought the Liberty Bell from the U.S. government. They agreed to keep the bell in its location and in Philadelphia, but changed its name to the Taco Liberty Bell. Thousands of citizens fell for the gambit, contacting several government organizations to complain.
Come on, people.
Is that true or false, Chris?
I don't remember this. I'm going to say it's Chew, though.
He doesn't remember it, but he's saying it's true, and he is correct.
Yeah, you know what?
Sneaky Taco Bell.
Taco Bell has that playful energy
Yeah, they got
about
that dog in
them.
'em.
100. There's a little chihuahua. I love this story
Did you
so
say
much.
Chihuahua?
Is it not chihuahua?
Chihuahua. Chihuahua? All right, Ann, your first question here is this story about food true or false, or true or false even. Here's your first question. In 1952, chef and inventor Stanley Rook became convinced that mice were stealing his snacks, particularly creations he was frying. His solution? Make an aggressively bright-colored food that would leave a trace if stolen. The final product? The fried orange dusty curls called the Cheeto, which Rook patented and sold to the Frito-Lay company in 1959.
The story was actually, in a sense, the inspiration for Ratatouille.
True or false?
I'm gonna go with false.
She's going to go with false. She is correct.
Yeah, honestly,
Can you
Dan,
imagine if the orange dust was the reason for the Cheeto? Bug, not a feature?
Yeah, Dan, if you think about it in a sense, true is A, false is B, and B continues.
B continues. Yeah. That's right. She went with it. She's only one behind now. Anybody's game.
Amazing.
You a Cheeto fan, Brand?
I love a Cheeto.
Now you are talk to me about how you will eat food in bed.
Yes.
You would not eat Cheetos in bed.
For you, Dan, I will tell you that I would not eat Cheetos.
Thank you so much.
I would eat Cheetos.
Sometimes I lose sleep at night at Brand just with a bag of chips in bed, just dumping them up, just crumbs everywhere. Like I can't even you have shoes on.
I'm not a monster.
I can't imagine eating in my bed. And this guy's just like down in Cheetos, rubbing the Cheeto, licking his fingers, rubbing it all over the sheet.
Let's do this.
All right, here we go,
Have I
Chris.
eaten it in bed? Campbell's soup? No.
No.
Heinz ketchup? Yes. Oreo? Yes.
You've eaten ketchup in bed?
Of something with ketchup.
Dear God.
Milky Way? No, but I have a candy bar. Mac and cheese in bed? Yes. M&M's in bed? Yes. Pop-Tarts in bed? Absolutely. Last night. SpaghettiOs in bed? No, not yet.
He goes all the way.
Yeah.
Chris from Charlotte, your next question here on True or False. Is this story real or did I make it up? In 1808, Amos Reed preserved cucumbers in barrels of brine to sell at his produce market. He forgot about one barrel of cucumbers that sat in the brine for months. He refused to admit he'd made a mistake, telling his wife it was a long-term preservation experiment when really it was a mistake. Reed was lying to save face. He'd also inadvertently invented the pickle.
Oh.
True or false?
I'm gonna. I love a dill. I hate
A bread and butter.
anything else.
Are Chris and I best friends?
You guys are buddies.
This guy
Chris,
gets
do you eat in bed?
It depends on what we're eating, but potentially.
Yeah, that's a yes.
man.
All right.
That-
One
But
for
I
me.
will say one of the worst days is when you think you're about to bite into a dill pickle and it's a sweet pickle.
Oh, my
It's
God.
the worst.
I mean,
the worst.
maybe, I'm going to say that's chew.
He's going to say it's true and it's false.
Oh, no.
Amos Reed forgot about his cucumbers.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. Pickle's pretty old. Older than 1808. Older than our nation, actually.
How about that?
So that sound you're hearing right now. Gotta get that fixed. Is the door creaking back open for Ann to tie this thing back up?
Wow, that's very exciting, Dano.
It sure is, and no pressure here. A chance to tie it up. Here's your next question on true or false. The original version of this now virtually inedible children's candy that's really more about the toy container is that Pez dispensers were invented as an alternative to smoking. Peppermint flavored, stored in containers that were meant to resemble cigarette lighters.
Wow.
Is that true or false?
It seems like so ridiculous that it could be true.
So are you going food? Are you going
I'm
chew?
gonna go chew.
She's gonna
Sorry.
go chew, and she's gonna go food. She's gonna go chew. She's gonna get it right.
Whoa!
She's tied it back
That's
up.
an A. She got it
Oh,
right.
boy.
How about that? It's a tie ball game.
Tie ball game. Chris, pressure's on now. Back to you. Is this next story about food, chew, or true or false? Here we go. In 1905, 11-year-old Frank Epperson mixed water and sugary soda powder, put a wooden stick in it, and left it outside on a freezing cold night. The next morning, he had an edible treat that he called an Epsicle. And then he sold that to his neighborhood buddies as a child. Decades later, he patented his invention, and then his kids, upon taking over the company, renamed it to sell it nationwide. And because they loved him so much and called him Pop, of course, the treat became known as the Popsicle.
How about that?
Is that true or false?
That is a fun tale that you are weaving, but I don't buy it. That's false.
He doesn't buy it, but it is the heartwarming story that needs to be a movie because it is true.
Oh, no.
These kids named the Popsicle after their dad.
That's very nice.
Frank Epperson, 11 years old, the Epsicle, a true story.
Wow.
The door is now fully
That's
open.
amazing.
It's not even creaking anymore. And a chance to take a lead here late in round 2 of Who, What, When, Talking Food. Here on True or False, here's your next clue. Minister and regular speaker at the Pennsylvania Temperance Society, Sylvester Graham didn't eat meat, fat, spice, caffeine, or drink alcohol because he believed them all to cause him moral weakness. While his diet consisted of fruits, veggies, and fiber-rich food, in 1829, he created the graham cracker, which he believed to be a snack that would cure what he called carnal urges. And is that true or false?
I'm going to say it's chew.
She's going to say it's true, and she's correct.
Wow.
Shout out Sly.
Shout out.
I like a
Graham.
graham cracker. I have eaten graham crackers in bed.
Found a crumb in the crevice of my elbow. Oh, it's just a graham cracker.
That's
Don't
right.
worry. All right, Chris, all of a sudden we find ourselves down one here late in the game. Your next question on true or false. Before hitting U.S. stores in 1958, Coca-Cola head Max Keith crafted Fanta orange soda just for the Nazis.
Wanna Fanta? Oh, that's sad.
Because he couldn't distribute Coke during the war to the Axis powers, the ever-capitalist had his scientists in Germany use production waste from other German food companies, add things like beet sugar, fruit peels, and apple pulp to create Fanta, one of the only soda options available during World War II in Nazi Germany. True or false?
I feel like this has gotten so hard, and I don't know if it's me. I've gotten Ann's wrong too. So I'm going to assume I'm going to be wrong when I say that's false.
It is true and you're wrong.
Wow. This is like this is like when a basketball player gets a case of the yips at the free
starts
throw
missing
line.
the free
you know?
throws. That's right. Although this was a tough one.
That was a tough one.
Fanta only for the Nazis? Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's a very fun
Yeah.
song. Sorry, they used production waste from other food companies
companies.
and added beet sugar and fruit peels.
That's right.
Gross. Have they changed the recipe?
But
They're not
imagine
still
this,
using-
in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the land of the no soda, the beet juice soda is king.
Sure, I guess that's true. Yeah.
All right,
beautiful.
and a chance to take a commanding lead here with your next clue here on True or False. In October of 1929, Charles Grigg concocted a lemon lime soda with a special ingredient, lithium citrate, a mood stabilizer for depression and bipolar disorder.
Oh my gosh.
Advertised as a medicinal soda and a hangover cure, Grigg's bib label lithiated lemon lime soda didn't exactly fly off the shelves. But when the name was changed in the mid-1930s to 7-Up, it was much more successful. And is that true or false?
I'm going to go with false.
She's going to go with false. And that is incorrect. That's a true story.
I'm sorry, what?
That's right. 7-Up.
Can 7-Up cure my depression, Dan?
I think the recipe's been changed.
Okay, they changed it a little bit. Okay.
Shout out to Grigg's bib label lithiated lemon lime soda.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Can you give me one of them GBLLLLS, please? Thank you.
Yeah, can you imagine ordering a Seagram 7 and 7? Can I get a Seagram 7 and Grigg's bib label lithiated lemon lime soda if you don't mind?
Thank you very much.
All right, Chris, doors back open for you to jump back in this thing. Here's your next clue here on True or False. In 1908, New York baker Elias Finch got so furious that the center of his cakes were continually underdone that he created a pan with a knob in the middle of it, allowing him to create what he called a Finch circle cake. Finch sold the cake idea to Hostess in 1918 under the condition that if they changed the name, it would have to be to honor his daughter, Dawnette, which was the original Hostess name for what we now know as the donut.
Wow.
Chris, true or false?
Eat it, Ann. It's true.
Don't eat it, Ann. It's false.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable.
Oh, what a time to be alive. Oh, man. Donette. No, Donette. That is incorrect. I'm so irrationally proud of this story that I concocted.
Yeah.
Donette. Which is a Hostess Donette is a real thing.
Yeah.
Man. All right, Ann, last question for you.
This could seal it.
True or false? In 1933, in the Great Depression, Darlene Montgomery's children didn't want to eat chicken because, in her words, It was chicken-shaped. She balled up chunks of the leftover chicken, fried them, and her kids couldn't get enough. Thus began the somewhat tumultuous history of the chicken nugget. True or false?
I'm going to say false.
I'm going to say false is correct.
And cooked.
All of a sudden, and cooked on the food episode of Who, What, When. And in a shocking turn of events, Ann from Columbia, South Carolina, is our Who, What, When champion of the week.
How about that? We tried to put her in a box and say she
right.
could only get the B's right.
No.
She got them all right.
And congratulations, Chris from Charlotte. You started off so strong. Got a little hairy there towards the end, but you were a great player. Anything you'd like to say? Final words before we turn it over to Ann.
Congrats, Ann. You played a good game. I appreciate it, guys. I'll have to find a fanny pack somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can do, I guess. They're
right.
sparse out there. Chris from Charlotte, thanks for playing
See you
along.
at the taco spot.
And we got one more game left, and if you win it, you're going home with a Who I Win fanny pack.
Okay. All right.
This is Who What When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my friend and co-host Daniel Thompson, and today we are serving up some sizzling games about the history of food.
We sure are, Brandon. Our contestants are cooking. Ann from South Carolina had an amazing comeback in the last round, claiming the title of Who What When Champion of the Week, and she now has one more game to play for a chance at that sweet, sweet Who What When fanny pack.
But first, we'll speak with a food historian about the stories behind some of our favorite snacks. That's coming up after this break here on Who, What, When.
Welcome back to Who What When, South Carolina Public Radio's Hour of History, Games, and Trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy Brandon Gray.
This week, we're on a culinary adventure, Dan, with quizzes about food history. And we're going to get back to our games in just a few minutes, but it's time for something I love. I know you love it, Dan. It's the Educator Spotlight.
We love an Educator Spotlight, Brandon. Every so often here on the show, we have the pleasure to speak with an expert about the topics we're covering on the show. And today, we're joined by food historian and author David Shields. He's also the co-host of the public television program, The Savors of Flavor, produced by our sister TV station, South Carolina ETV. David, thanks for joining us here on Who, What, When.
It's a pleasure to be here and talk about a subject that everyone is interested in.
I tell you, food. We're talking food historian,
Man,
man.
doesn't get better than
That's
this.
a good title. We're excited to talk to you. The Savors of Flavor is about Southern cuisine, specifically the ingredients grown in the region that are so important to the history and culture of the South, but are at risk of disappearing. And the first episode follows a fun story about one of America's founding fathers and a certain crop that he grew. I'm going to ask a question that I've been wanting to ask for a while. What can you tell me about Thomas Jefferson's peas?
Well, he was an extraordinary gardener, for the first thing. If you go to Monticello today, you will see a reconstruction of his garden, and it takes up an entire terrace. He had over 500 different vegetables from all over the globe growing there. He was an experimentalist, but his favorite vegetable was the first one that matured in his garden every year, the green garden pea. And he got into contests with his neighbors.
Of course.
The first person who could produce a plate of garden peas and serve the other neighbors won a Madeira bottle and got the title as Primo Gardener.
Wow.
So you mentioned contests, which it's hard for us to think about like a colonial contest because I feel like there's so much organization involved in an official food contest nowadays. What would be the modern equivalent of what you're talking about right now when you say that Thomas Jefferson had a neighborhood pea contest?
Well, I'm trying to think of what. I mean, there's certain types of informal barbecue contests that exist.
Okay.
And in the South, there's a sort of culture of cane syrup brewers that meet sort of regionally under the radar. And there's always these comparative tastings, and everyone knows who had the best syrup in a given year.
I love that. Yeah. You'd be a big in the underground syrup world, Brent.
I would. Yes, I'm a syrup man. I'll say this: I'm not big into peas. I'm not big into vegetables in general, so not my thing. But what I am into is potato chips. There's several conflicting stories about the creation of potato chips. I want you, the food historian, to tell me the real deal. What am I to believe about the history of potato chips?
Well, let's go backward in time.
Okay, let's do it.
It becomes a national craze under the name the Saratoga chip when Delmonico's, the greatest restaurant of the 19th century in New York, served them to Grand Duke Alexander of Russia. Wow. And the Grand Duke, who had been mean-mouthing American food, said, wait a minute, this is something worth chewing on.
I love it.
So the name suggests Saratoga is the place where it gets popularized. And we know that there was a place called the Lake House run by Carrie Moon, where it was served for the first time to a broad public. And the myth is that a man named George Speck Crumb, who was half Huron and half African American, was a chef there, and he cooked up the first batch of Saratoga chips, a.k.a. potato chips.
Wow. Unbelievable. Now, there are stories I know about potato chips being created in France. Which story do you buy into as being most likely true?
The potato chip as we know it is a production of the United States.
That's right. That's right.
Of course.
America's finest.
David, I'd love to talk to you about prohibition, if we could. That was the time during the 1920s and a little bit in the 30s with a federal ban on alcohol sales. How did I know from touring the Anheuser-Busch factory in St. Louis, Missouri, that there were a lot of folks in the food and beverage industry that had to pivot? How did prohibition impact not just bars and alcohol sales and distribution around the country, but also restaurants in general?
Yeah. Well, to tell the truth, the first model of fine dining restaurants crashed entirely. All of the major restaurants in big cities that floated themselves by markups on French wine and spirits went under within 12 months.
Wow.
And fine dining was only kept alive in the interwar eras by pivoting from one drug to another, from alcohol to sugar.
Yeah.
The dessert cart gets invented, confection sort of wheeling around ice cream and other things while people are dining in the dining rooms. And the confections get increasingly elaborate, and the kinds of eclairs and items that to this day are always in the windows of fine bake shops emerge as the cutting edge of food.
So what you're telling me is the idea, the American idea that a great meal isn't complete without something sweet at the end. That's a lot of that lore comes from Prohibition and that pivot of making money in restaurants?
Exactly. And it's also, like the first step down the road to what's been called the sugaring of America.
That's right. Yeah.
When all of a sudden, everything has to have sugar in it. For a long time, there was no cornbread in the South that had a spoonful of sugar in it. Nobody put sugar in their greens when cooking collards. 1970s, 1980s, it all comes in, and Tony the Tiger's there sort of encouraging people by saying it's great. And then the soft drink beverages come in and all of the problems start popping up, like diabetes and obesity and other things.
Wow.
Wouldn't have happened if we just drank.
If we just drank alcohol, you know what I mean? Just kept our sugars in the alcohol,
You mentioned fine dining, which makes me think of the Michelin star restaurants. And I've always, being from Greenville, I drive by the Michelin plant there all the time. I see the Michelin Man all the time, the big marshmallow guy.
Right.
And I'm always like, how in the world did this tire company with a silly mascot become the company that also says this is a fine dining establishment? What is the deal with that?
Well, you have to think about what tires enable you to do. They enable you to travel places.
Right. Yeah.
And in order to get people, being a tourist, the Michelin people decided to give them some destinations to go to. Wear out your tires and get them replaced.
That's right.
I mean, there's a kind of logic to it.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they locked into that early on. When you think about the way that cars or automobiles change food in the United States, guidebooks explode in the 1930s and 40s. Other things happen, like the creation of restaurants that are designed to be on crossroads, or the barbecue shack gets invented as a kind of institution of the South, with the presumption that people will motor to it and grab their whole hog barbecue or whatever, their hash and rice, and motor off into bliss.
Getting hungry just thinking about it, David, in all honesty. Now, as part of your studies, you specialize in foods and crops native to the United States, but have either been completely lost to time or need help being preserved. What does that mean? What all is entailed in that, and what are some success stories of us preserving foods that could have easily been lost to time?
Yeah. One of the things you have to realize is that when food began being grown on an industrial scale, the breeders of plants had a new set of demands. When you cover entire counties with one crop, sooner or later the bug or disease that loves that thing more than anything else shows up and infects entire counties. And so you have to have disease-resistant crops. When shipping becomes an issue, you have to have watermelons that don't collapse when you stack them 4 deep in a boxcar. So what happens is that breeders began marginalizing flavor as a concern, one, producing the next generation of vegetables. It's disease resistance, processability, shelf life, transportability. There were entire decades in the last part of the 20th century when no grain in America underwent sensory testing, no new introduction of wheat or oats or rye. And as you can imagine, if people aren't interested in taste in terms of the production, the flavor of things began to diminish. And everyone knows how terrible grocery store tomatoes had gotten. What happened was people who were concerned with flavor, particularly the professionals, the chefs, started demanding, where are the old tasty things? And so in the 1990s, you have this movement that is starting to look for the lost grains, fruits, vegetables that made up Low Country cooking, Tidewater, Virginia cooking, Creole cooking down in Louisiana, all of these sort of regional places where you had specific sets of things grown. And so I participated in the bring back. My particular thing was I would find out what was lost. What were the plants that people loved for at least a half a century?
Wow.
That suddenly vanished for some reason or another, and try to locate them. In order to find something, you got to know it's lost. That's the first thing. So I did the research on that, and I assisted people and was one of the people that went touring the countryside, hunting down that one true believer who knew the flavor of their watermelon or cantaloupe was better than the stuff that was showing up in the latest seed catalog. And the South is chock full of those old believers. Yeah. So sooner or later, with almost everything we went looking for, and I had a list of about 45 ingredients that I'd prepared for the Carolina Gold Rice Foundation. A man named Glenn Roberts had first enlisted me into this effort. My presumption now is that unless it's a strawberry, it survives.
Wow.
Strawberries, for some reason, vanish.
What are some highlights of some of these things that you found that were just so much better than what we were producing in a mass scale?
Carolina Gold Rice,
yes.
The rice of our region. Purple ribbon sugarcane. Bene, the original low-oil sesame from West Africa, had been supplanted by this high-oil sesame. You know, we're talking about 45% for Bene, 60 plus for modern sesame. And has a different flavor.
Yeah.
Modern sesame is much more bitter. Old style sesame, mellow. And what they did was they crushed it for oil. They used it for mash to create like a roux for stews. There was a famous old Charleston dish called brown Bene and oyster stew that there are people like Amethyst Ganway and Sean Brock who have made this, one of the pinnacles, but you couldn't do it with modern sesame. You had to use Bene. Purple straw wheat, the biscuit and cake wheat, whiskey wheat of the South, that was virtually lost, and we brought that back and are actually working. Rick Boyles, Dr. Rick Boyles of Clemson is putting disease resistance into purple straw to have it once again as the biscuit wheat for the biscuits you want to eat.
I love that. That should be the slogan.
That's good.
I'm
hungry.
This is fascinating, and now I'm starving. David Shields is a food historian and author. He's also one of the hosts of the public television program, The Savors of Flavors, which you can find on your local station or watch at pbs.org. David, thank you so very much for being here.
And I want to mention my co-host in that thing, chef scholar Kevin Mitchell, who I've been working with for over a decade. And he and I travel the South, hunting down those garden peas for Jefferson, or the variety of okra that you eat the leaves rather than the pods. Or that special small miniature tan pumpkin that the Cherokee keep to themselves.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Secret pumpkin's always good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Love a secret pumpkin. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David. This is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy Brandon Gray, and this week our topic is the history of food.
Before we go to our final game, one quick reminder that we would love for you to join us as a contestant on a future episode of the show. Just call or text us 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email, whowhatwhen @scpublicradio.org.
Our contestant, Anne from South Carolina, has come out victorious after 2 rounds of trivia, making her the Who What Win Champion of the Week. Now, she has a shot at taking home that sweet, sweet Who What Win fanny pack, and all she has to do is make it through our final round. It's History or His Story, Food Edition.
And here's how History or His Story works. Former history teacher Dan has 3 strange stories from the history of food. 2 of these stories are historical fact. The other one was made up by my buddy Dan, a.k.a. it is his story. After each story, you'll have a chance to ask questions. You and we will talk through it together, and you'll then have to tell us which one is Dan's lie.
All right, our first story is one called The Trained Turkey Hostage. During the Civil War, the first transcontinental railroad to successfully connect our nation was built and funded heavily by the U.S. government through subsidies because of just how much land the U.S. government owned out west. On top of all the money the government poured into the railroad, Congress was also conducting a massive scandal at the time that allowed them to profit off the railroad. That scandal was the credit mobilier scandal, which allowed congressmen to line their own pockets on top of making money through railroads' profits. How'd they do it? Well, Congressman Oakes Ames of Massachusetts coordinated the founding of an organization called the Credit Mobilier, which assessed the needs of the railroad companies and would give an estimate of how much money it would take to complete the task. The Credit Mobilier would give an estimate of cost way higher than reality. The U.S. government would send the money to the Credit Mobilier, allowing Ames and any other congressman that helped to skim off the top, earning what amounted to be hundreds of millions of dollars in modern day cash. Why did I tell you about that? Because the turkey is coming up next. Should I even say, let's talk turkey? You know what I mean?
Let's talk turkey.
So turkey was quite the treat in the 1800s. It's probably why it's still
has made it to the Thanksgiving table, even though it's definitely a lesser meat. But in the 1800s, while they could be hunted, turkey hunting wasn't readily available on the eastern seaboard, so most turkeys came via railroad into the East Coast. The distribution of turkeys for eating increased exponentially after the invention of the refrigerated rail car and because of the wily distribution efforts of Ames Quality Foods. Maybe you've heard that last name. Ames Quality Foods was a food distribution company that also happened to be run by Harold Ames, the brother of Congressman Oakes Ames.
Okay.
Along with stealing millions of dollars from the U.S. government through the credit mobilier scandal, Oakes Ames began cornering the turkey market as well.
Wow.
He paid a premium to turkey hunters in Nebraska, Oklahoma, and the Dakotas. He paid rail workers to siphon turkeys from other food service trailers into his own. With counts consistently low, food distributors in the East moved away from turkey as a source of income and also began to suspect foul play. Sorry, not sorry. Meanwhile, in New England, the cost of turkeys went through the roof, from 7 cents a pound to 25 cents a pound. Estimates of Ames family net profits from turkey are in the neighborhood of close to $2 million modern day dollars, roughly 100,000 back then. In 1867, Ames was caught not only for stealing money through the credit mobilier, but also unfairly controlling the turkey market. While Ames was censured by the U.S. Senate, Ames Quality Foods had already made enough money to live past the reputation of the scandal. Ames Quality Foods eventually sold to the Marzo-Lech families, which eventually incorporated in 1930 under the name U.S. Food Service, a company that still exists today. That is the end of story one. Bran, what do you think?
Very interesting story, Dan. I have a question you might not know an answer to, but when I'm thinking turkey nowadays, I'm thinking butterball.
Butterball.
I'm thinking butterball. Was butterball around?
So the
then,
refrigerated rail car was a huge deal in the 1860s because it allowed you to transport like beer and meats a long distance.
Right.
What follows is modern day refrigeration, and that allows companies like Butterball to make a name for yourself. So you're a little ahead of Butterball at this point.
So the Ames turkeys were a little bit different than what we think. Ames turkeys, a little bit different than what we think of when I think of.
It was not wrapped in cellophane. They were still full turkeys.
Very helpful. Yes. And any questions or thoughts that you have about this story?
When did you say this was?
This all happened started during the Civil War, and in 1867 is when he was caught.
Okay.
Very good.
Noted.
Very good. Keep that in mind as we head into story number 2. A reminder that we're trying to find the story, the made-up story. Dan, what do we got for number 2?
All right, number 2 is called Attack of the Killer Tomato Debate.
Oh, good.
You like that name? Producer loves that name back there. Here we go. Starts right now. Most of colonial North America before the 1800s believed the tomato was really dangerous. Tribes in Mesoamerica, modern-day Mexico and Central America, ate them regularly without issue, and reports of the tomato being eaten right here in South Carolina date all the way back to the 1700s. But because of the more moderate climate of most of the colonies, and because of the occasional worms found in them, tomatoes were thought to be demonic, poisonous, or related to rattlesnakes.
Wow.
Most upper-class citizens of the United States didn't take their chances with the tomato until the late 1800s. The 1890s was the time of an early food boom and a transatlantic trade of crops and produce, bringing the culinary experience of the entire world directly to your door. Tomatoes became so popular in New York with the wave of Italian immigrants reaching the city. By 1905, we have our first pizza here in the U.S., and the rest is history.
Can we give it up for pizza
Shout
real
out
quick?
to pizza.
Let's give it up.
Shout out.
I have eaten pizza in bed, yes.
Cities like New York and Boston fruit commissions, or companies that would acquire produce from other parts of the world to sell, as well as ship local products around the world. The John Nix & Co. Fruit Commission in New York City was one of the largest sellers of produce in New York and one of the first companies in the United States to acquire produce from Europe, Bermuda, Florida, and Virginia into New York. A huge part of their enterprise was importing and exporting fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
In the 1880s, Chester Arthur signs a tariff act placing a 10% tax on all vegetables entering the country, but not fruits.
Okay, I've heard about tariffs.
So, John Nix & Company were taxed on their importation of tomatoes, a tax which they refused to pay because the scientific botanical definition of a fruit was the seed-bearing result of the plant, which means the tomato is a fruit.
Right.
The tax collector at the Port of New York, after not receiving the taxes levied, began to take legal action against John Nix & Co. This led Nix & Co. to filing a legal suit against the tax collector on the basis of the definition of a tomato. The case goes all the way to the Supreme Court. Nix versus Hedden was argued in front of SCOTUS in 1893, with Nix & Co. utilizing the relatively new Merriam-Webster's Dictionary to argue that the tomato was a fruit and could not be taxed under the tariff. Even with old Merriam and Webster on his side.
No.
Nix & Co. lost the case.
No.
So
How?
The Supreme Court ruled that even though the tomato may be a fruit, botanically speaking, it was a fruit of a vine and legally of a provision sold as a vegetable.
Ridiculous.
So the Supreme Court ruled that a fruit was a vegetable. While this did cost Nix a lot of money, it also gained him a ton of notoriety, allowing the Nix family to expand virtually nationwide, becoming one of the first in a list of what would become national wholesalers in the 1900s, delivering fresh produce to restaurants and grocers across the country. Since the 1930s, 2 states have made the tomato their state fruit, Tennessee and Ohio. One state, New Jersey, has made the tomato their state vegetable, citing the SCOTUS case as evidence. The European Union also classifies tomatoes as a fruit and did so in 2001. So while we know they're not poisonous, demonic, or wolf summoners, we still can't agree if they're a fruit or a vegetable. That's the end of story 2, Brand. What do you think?
I love this story. Fascinating. I can't believe the Supreme Court got it wrong. Let me ask you this, Dan. Has anything? Is this still precedents? Is that what you would say? Is this
Precedents?
Still, yes. Is this still law?
I believe when it comes to the classification for economic purposes, it is still precedents, but I could be wrong.
Nothing else, as far as you know, has gone to the Supreme Court that has made a change of any sort. Okay, fascinating. This is the type of stuff that we should be repealing. All right, Anne, thoughts or questions about this one?
Well, I'm a little bit skeptical because I think that tomato is a fruit.
Yeah.
And I believe I probably looked it up before, and it's told me that tomato is a fruit. So if it's still precedent today, I don't know if I believe that. But, I mean, people do think it's a vegetable. And it does taste like a vegetable to me. So
Yeah.
That's the whole hurdle here, Anne. That's tough.
Yeah.
I just think you have to go with the definition, not just what in legally speaking. If Dan, let's just say
Isn't it
hypothetically,
crazy?
if we were trying to figure out what the outcome would be together, I would say legally speaking, the definition trumps whatever you feel about a specific food. Just because you feel like it is a vegetable.
SCOTUS is like, man, for tax purposes, it's a vegetable. They just decided.
Crazy.
They just
crazy
decided
to me
fruit's
that
a
they can
vegetable.
do that. All right.
Yeah. All right, last story. We ready?
do it.
The last story is called The Cow to End All Cows.
Okay.
Fidel Castro was the leader of the Cuban Revolution over the U.S. during the Cold
Fidel
War.
Castro.
I see what you did there. The Soviet Union had utilized Cuba's anger and resentment towards the United States as a weapon to expand communism. They were a large benefactor to the installed communist Cuban regime under Castro. Before the end of the Cold War in 1991, Cuba had many years of prosperity because of the aid of the Soviet Union and the dictatorship of Castro. Among other things, Fidel Castro was obsessed with dairy products. Reports were common that Castro would eat 18 to 20 spoonfuls of ice cream with his lunch on a regular basis. This addiction to dairy led to a constant strain on the livestock of Cuba. As a Caribbean island with not much land, it was hard to have a thriving dairy farming community, which is something Castro desperately wanted. Not only that, but the United States knew of Castro's love of dairy and even tried to poison him through it in the 1960s, with U.S. spies trying to place a poison pill into a chocolate milkshake destined for Castro at a Cuban hotel. The plot was foiled when the pill froze in the freezer instead of dissolving. From that point forward, Castro had his personal chef, Chef Flores, taste all of his dairy before Castro would eat it. It was for these reasons that Castro ordered the experimentation on breeding a super cow.
Super cow!
One that could produce more milk than any other cow on Earth. Since Cuba didn't have the space for lots of cows, why not try to get lots of milk from one cow? In 1972, Castro and Cuba succeeded when Ubre Blanca was born. Ubre Blanca, which means white udder, was a crossbreed between a Holstein bull and a Zebu cow. It was a marvel. By 1980, the cow was outproducing any other cow in Cuba by a wide margin and getting special treatment from the Cuban government. Ubre Blanca lived better than most Cubans at the time. It had a wide range of diet, from grass to oranges to beer. It had a portable radio that would play tropical music to calm her, and many believed her to live in an air-conditioned barn. Castro began bragging about Ubre Blanca in his speeches, showcasing the successes of the communist regime. He became obsessed with her, breaking the world record for most milk produced by a single cow, a record held at the time by an American cow. So he began having his agricultural team measure her milk output daily and report it to him.
Please tell me you have the numbers.
I have the numbers.
Okay, good.
These measurements of daily milk produced were reported on the Cuban news as if they were daily sports scores. In 1982, Ubre Blanca successfully broke 2 Guinness records.
Yes!
One for the most milk produced in a single day, 241 pounds.
Whoa!
And the other for the amount of milk produced in a year, 55,090 pounds.
Oh, hold up.
Ubre Blanca was euthanized due to poor health.
Oh!
May she rest in peace, probably over milking too. In 1985, she was given a military eulogy and funeral. Castro ordered a life-size statue of Ubre Blanca built in the center of the town in which she was born. Unsuccessful attempts were made over the next 2 decades to clone the cow. That's the end of story number 3.
I just want to say 55,090 pounds in a year. That's an average of 151 pounds
A day. Yeah, sure is. Look at that man. He's locked in. He was locked into the Ubre Blanca story.
There's nothing I care about more than Ubre Blanca, and I want that on the record.
That's right. Yeah.
And thoughts or questions about this one before we have to make our decision?
Yeah, I agree. I want that story to be true. I think that was really funny. So I think I know between 2 answers.
Okay, before you do, let me
recap,
let me give you the quick recap of these stories before you dive in. The first one, the train turkey hostage. Bad guy. Bad monopoly on turkey. We don't like that. Story 2, killer tomato. Tomato, is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable? We can disagree, Supreme Court, on that. And then number 3, big cow, big milk. Anne, you said you had a thought here. You have it down to 2?
Yes.
Talk it through with us and tell me which story is my story.
Okay, so for the first one, I just don't know what the turkey market was like during the Civil War. Was it a big... I don't know if it was a big thing, so I'm a little bit skeptical. And then for the tomato story, I can see people having some type of contention about it, which makes me think that it could be true, just because it's been a debate for a while, and I'm sure I've had a debate in my lifetime.
So, Anne, what you're saying, and you agree with me, Ubre Blanca, 100% real.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
Okay.
I would die on that.
It's turkey or tomato, and you got to choose which story is my lie. What are you going with?
Okay, I'm gonna go with the turkey one, and that's just a guess. Shot in the dark.
You know what, Anna, I am with you. First of all, between these 2 stories, I think I'm going to go with you on this one.
All right.
Really?
But talking turkey.
And I like the thought process there. Like that's a lot. Like that's a lot of turkey.
It's a lot of turkey.
That's a lot of turkey.
Yeah. All right. Ubre Blanca's real. It's real. Fat cow.
100%.
Really big. Yes.
Can we take a second?
Yeah.
Just a moment of silence, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Good stuff. Shout out Ubre.
Shout out.
Like
Ubre Blanca. She's with us in spirit. The killer tomato. SCOTUS. Hearing the dictionary definition of tomato as a fruit and still saying, sorry, it's a vegetable. That is true.
Oh, and you did it!
That's true. The turkey story. The Oaks Ames credit mobiliar scandal, true.
Okay.
Turkey, no. None of the turkey.
Unrelated. How about that,
false.
Ann?
And you are correct. You guessed my story. You're going home with a who, what,
How
when.
about that? What are you going to put in that fanny pack, Ann?
Awesome. Oh my gosh, so many things. I'm gonna put
Name
my
one.
food in there. I can carry around my snacks.
All right.
Snacks,
yes.
that's a good answer.
All right.
Good answer. And
I love
you've
that.
been a great player. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Who What When.
Thank you so much.
And with that, our foodie episode comes to an end. Thanks again to our contestants, Chris and Ann. And congratulations again to Ann on being named Champion of the Week and taking home that Who What When fanny pack.
Sydney Wilcox is our production assistant. Our producer is A.T. Shire, and our executive producer is Sean Birch, who, inspired by the movie Ratatouille, delegates all his work to a rat hidden inside of the chef hat he wears every day. This show is a production of South Carolina Public Radio, made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
Join us for an episode of Who What When. Just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, whowhatwhenshow.org.
And you can listen to an extended version of the show on your favorite podcast app or through your smart speaker.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Join us again next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who What When.